Hi, everybody. Welcome to another special edition of Hashing Out the Law. This is Meet the CCBA. On this edition, my special guest is Angela Berry. Hi, Angela. How are you?
Hi, I'm good, Arash. Thank you.
So, Angela, you are a member of the board. How long have you been a member of the organization for?
I've been a member of the organization, I would say 6 or 7 years.
And did you hold any positions in the past besides being a board member?
No, just a board member.
And how long have you been on the board?
I've been on the board, I want to say 3 years, maybe 3 or 4 years.
Okay. And I'm not going to ask you how you like the organization because I'm sure you love it. It's the greatest organization ever joined.
There you go.
but this is about you. So I want to get to know more about you, and I'm sure the viewers and listeners want to know more about you too. So how long have you been practicing?
30 years.
And did you start with criminal law from the beginning?
I did, yes. My last year of law school, I clerked for the Attorney General's office in their criminal appeals section, knowing that I wanted to go into criminal law. When I graduated from law school from Loyola in 1991, the LA Public Defender's Office was in the midst of a hiring freeze. So I went and did some ghostwriting and made appearances for a number of criminal defense attorneys, both in state and federal court for a couple of years until the hiring freeze lifted. And then I went over to the Public Defender's Office from there.
How long were you in the Public Defender's Office for?
5 years.
All right. And then what made you want to leave the Public Defender's Office?
I think that my personality is not cut out for a huge organization such as the Public Defender's Office. I like to make my own schedule. If it means that I get my court appearances done in the morning and then I'm out on a hike for the afternoon only to have to work on the weekend, that works better for my personality than to be somewhere where I'm expected to be Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. So that was the biggest impetus for me.
More of a personal time preference choice.
Yes.
Now, Angela, you said that when you were in law school, you clerked for the Attorney General's office in the appeals department. Is that when you realized you wanted to do criminal law, or did you have that epiphany at a different time?
I knew I wanted to practice criminal law since I was in junior high.
All right. I like that. So
yes.
My next question is, what day in junior high was it that you decided you wanted to? Well, you know what? I withdraw.
That's an unfair question.
I'm going to withdraw that question. What day was it that you decided you wanted to be a lawyer? Not just criminal lawyer, but a lawyer in general. You decided, I want to be a lawyer when I grow up.
Yeah, I don't think that I made a distinction between being a lawyer versus being a criminal lawyer. To me, it was all one and the same thing at age 12 or 13 years old. So that was what I had envisioned. I didn't know any lawyers personally. In fact, I was the first person in my family to even get a 4-year college degree. So there weren't a lot of professionals around us. And so it was all one and the same. Criminal lawyer was a lawyer was a lawyer. So 7th grade.
7th grade. And then why did you want to be a lawyer?
Yeah, that's a good question. There were 5 children in our household, and I think I was second to the youngest. And I think my desire and my need to be heard is probably what my parents saw in me. And I think that they then started saying things like, boy, she should be a lawyer, or she's going to be a lawyer with the way she's talking. And so I think it was probably maybe consciously, maybe subconsciously fed to me, but I was pretty convinced by junior high.
That's great. That's awesome. So let's go back a little bit in your background. Are you originally from LA?
I am originally from Southern California, just east of Los Angeles. Yes.
Where east of Los Angeles?
Covina.
Covina, okay.
Yeah, yeah. Grew up in Covina. For a couple of years, we were up in Portland, Oregon. My first 2 years of high school, and then we moved back down to California, and I finished high school in Orange County.
I see. Okay, awesome. I knew a guy by the name of Walter Allen. He was the mayor of Covina, and he loved Covina. He was always talking about Covina. So I know all about Covina.
Okay. Okay. I knew a couple of the old mayors. My best friend's father was mayor at one point, actually, but I don't know the name you just said.
Awesome. I want to ask about your best friend's father, but that's a whole different episode.
Yeah.
Let's concentrate on Angela. So you come back to Orange County after being out of state. Would you say that being in another state had any effect on your decision making to be a lawyer? When I say being in another state, meaning in 7th grade, you decided you want to be a lawyer. You moved to Oregon, correct? That's what you said. And then the environment, your surrounding environment, changed that would have had any effect on you?
I don't think so. And you know, when I say I wanted to be a lawyer since 7th grade, it's not like that was something that was driving me on a day-to-day basis. So I was just being a normal teenager at that point. So I don't think it affected me one way or the other.
I see. Okay, awesome. So we know when you're not being a lawyer, you like to go hiking. What are the activities do you enjoy, non-lawyer activities?
Yeah, so I am an avid runner. So I do a lot of distance running. Right now it's very hot, so it's been hard to do my hikes or my running, but I try to get them in nevertheless. And I go to the gym, do the things that the gym allows, and just to generally like to be outside.
That's great. The gym lets you go without masks now, from what I hear.
Finally, yes. I'm just still not so comfortable, but yes, they are allowing no masks. Yeah.
Okay. Now let's go back to lawyering. You've been practicing for a while. You've been doing criminal defense. What is your favorite part of being a criminal defense lawyer?
I think it's the connections that I can have with my clients when they know that I'm there to help them. I think a lot of the people that we come across as criminal defense attorneys, they don't trust anybody. They've never trusted anybody in their entire life. And being able to be that person that they feel that they can finally trust, who really is looking out for their best interest, gives me a lot of satisfaction. Now,
I'm going to reverse that question. What's your least favorite part of being a criminal defense lawyer?
Oh boy. I think running around that we do, you know, LA County being so big and then having cases in the other counties as well. It's been a lot easier since we've been able to do the WebEx during the pandemic, so that we're not going to 3 and 4 courthouses in one day for silly things like a continuance that you're literally in the courthouse for 10 minutes, but it took you an hour to get there. So the running around, I think, is the hardest thing for me to do. But I know that the alternative was to stay with the public defender's office and then have the 7:30 to 5:30 grind Monday through Friday. So the toss up goes to having to run around in courts and have my own practice.
I agree with you on that part. I don't like the running around, and this WebEx and remote appearances have been awesome. Let's hope it stays like that in a way. I'm a young kid. I'm thinking about going to law school, but I'm not sure if I want to be a lawyer or not. What advice do you have for me?
My advice would be you need to hook up with an attorney and see what it really looks like. I would ask that kid, are you wanting to be a litigator? Are you wanting to be a trial lawyer? What is it about the law that attracts you? Is it the intellectual aspect of it? Do you want to be a brief writer, an appellate attorney? So I think narrowing down what the kid's interest is would help with that. And then I would encourage them, once they've narrowed that down, to spend some time at a law firm.
Awesome. Great advice. Now, do you watch any legal shows or law movies? The only reason I ask is because I know that doctors hate doctor shows. And I was a kid, my parents loved Law and Order and I loved it with them. But after now I can't stand it. So do you watch lawyer shows or movies? No?
Not a bit.
Yeah.
Not a bit.
I was gonna ask you what your favorite lawyer movie is. So I'll tweak my question. What's your favorite movie?
Let's see. Okay, so I'm thinking that, and I'm forgetting the name of it right now, which is funny. You asked me my favorite movie. I can't give a name, but let me tell you what it's about. It's based in India.
Okay.
And they have a horrible childhood. These two children, these two boys. And he's on Millionaire. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? What's that movie called?
I know that movie. I've never seen it, but I know.
So I love that movie. I mean, he starts out as to have such a disadvantage in life, and in the end, he gets the girl and he gets the money, and I think it's just a beautiful story, even though I'm not remembering the name of it right now.
Okay. Do you have a movie that you remember the name of that you like?
When Harry Met Sally. That's a great relationship.
That's a great basketball movie. All right, that one I like too, but we see it as a different kind of movie. But yes,
yeah,
it is a relationship. It's a great movie, and the soundtrack is pretty good too.
It is. Yeah. It is. Got some Harry Connick and some other jazz. And
right.
Yeah.
So we know you're a jazz fan. Now, let's talk about a little bit more serious stuff. The law and the practice of law. Criminal defense is not made for everybody. And when I say made for everybody, a lot of people go to law school, they think they want to do criminal defense and they can't handle it because it's not just stressful, but it has different aspects of it, whole different story. Let's talk about one thing about the practice of criminal law. And I'm not talking about the office environment. I'm talking about the actual court environment, the litigation environment that you don't like and you think it needs to be changed.
One of the things that really irks me is when DAs don't give your case attention until the day of the court appearance. I have always been one to be proactive. I want to talk to them in advance. I want to try to secure an offer in advance. And, and I don't know if it's just because they have so many cases or it's just the way that they've been taught to handle matters, but they can't focus, it seems to me, or they're unwilling to focus on any case that's not on calendar tomorrow. And so I find that a lot of court appearances are wasted appearances because you're finally getting your opportunity to have that face-to-face with the DA to really talk about the case. I find that very frustrating.
Yeah,
we can get a lot more done if they would, and I'm saying they, which is kind of unfair because I'm talking about them as if every single person is in that. But I would say, generally speaking, I find that they're not giving the attention the case deserves prior to court appearances.
I agree with you. I think, now this is just my opinion, I think that's because they see the case just as another case, they don't see it as a person, they see it as just another file. And they don't have the same connection to the defendant as we do, as people who represent them. But that's a whole different story.
Sure, but from another perspective, just moving the cases along, even if they don't have that connection with the client to give them that impetus to work on the case, just to be familiar enough with the case to have a conversation with you in advance so we could clear this case out. If the case could be resolved, let's do it earlier rather than later. If it can't, it can't. But, we as the defense want to know where we stand, and it's very frustrating to wait until you get into the courtroom to see if they've had a chance to look at the case,
That's a good point of view, yes. Their favorite is, well, Your Honor, I haven't had a chance to look at the facts. I need more time.
Yeah, Exactly. How many times have we heard that?
Right. And let's say if you were a judge, what would you change? Not just for you as a judge, but all other judges that preside over cases.
Well, I know that they do their education and their courses. So, you know, without knowing what they, how much they participate in those and how much they don't, that's hard to comment on how much I would require of my judges.
Let's make it a little bit easier question. Let's
talk
about just courtroom decorum. Like how if you were a judge, what would you do that judges don't do or should do to make the courtroom not a comfortable place, but more of a, you know, what courtroom decorum would you change for judges?
Okay, so yeah, I mean, there's a vast difference, for instance, between walking into a federal courtroom, walking into a state courtroom. Vast difference. And I like some formality. I'm not comfortable so much with the federal requirements and how rigid and unfriendly, and I don't know if aloof is the right word, but everybody seems standoffish because it has to be so formal. But I do like some decorum in the courtroom, and even all rise before, you know, the judge comes out, just to show that this is a serious, solemn place, I think is a good idea to do. I like that. Not all courts do that. In fact, very few courts anymore that I'm aware of even do that anymore. Right. To have everybody rise and face the flag. I'm not saying say the Pledge of Allegiance or anything, but just, you know, to remind everybody that this is a pretty important place and it requires the respect.
I agree with you on that. Judge Fox, if you remember.
I do, Eldon.
Yeah, he made everybody do the Pledge of Allegiance. In fact, it's funny, I walked into airport court yesterday and, you know, I looked at the judge and he was wearing a mask, and I asked the bailiff, I can't tell, is that Judge Fox? And he goes, yes. So he was on the bench. I was in front of him yesterday in airport.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was funny. And
oh, I love that. I'm gonna have to go over there and say hello.
Yeah, he was commenting on one of the defendants' attire. The guy came in a shirt and a tie, and he was like, I really love it. You know, he's coming like this. I don't understand why people come to court not looking like, yeah, this is a professional place. So when it was my turn after my cases were over, I said, Your Honor, I never deviated from my attire during this whole COVID thing. So can I have my case dismissed? And then the PD and the DA were in, the PD had jeans and a polo on, and the DA had just a shirt and slacks. And then the judge goes, yes, I like it when lawyers come into, Judge Fox said, I like it when lawyers come into the courtroom looking like lawyers and not defendants. And those two guys were mad.
Sure, yeah. The defendant looked nicer than they did.
Right. But yeah, Judge Fox is one of those people who had that decorum, which I agree with you. It's a court of law, and you know, people should be reminded where they are.
Right.
And I don't want to take too much of your time. So, is there anything about you that we don't know that you would like us to know? Now, it doesn't have to be a secret, but it's just a simple fact that I wouldn't know by just having a casual conversation with you.
Well, I think the way we started this off is something people don't necessarily know, that that I didn't just fall into law. It's something that was always a dream of mine. I think a lot of people, not that there's anything wrong with it, but a lot of people just kind of fall into it. I had a lot of friends after graduating from UCLA undergrad. Oh, I think I'll go to law school. I don't know what else I'm going to do, kind of thing. And, you know, and some of them really enjoy what they do and some don't. But I had a passion very early on, and I fulfilled that passion, and I'm still loving what I do. So I think that would be one of the things that awesome. Some might not know about me.
Great. That's awesome. I learned a lot about you that I didn't know, and I hope the viewers and listeners have also. Thank you, Angela. It was a pleasure speaking to you, and I will see you at the next Criminal Courts Bar Association meeting.
You certainly will. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.